the eighth episode, and thank you for tuning in at the end. And I don't know what I got a couple different ones, so I'm gonna wait a little while. I'm gonna try to wait a little while before I go into the question of the night because I got a couple different ones. But I wanted to dedicate this segment to my exes, all of my exes. I would like for y'all to get into the comment section. I mean, but I would kind of have to. I was going to tell you that you could catfish, getting there with a different profile or whatever to answer the questions, but I kind of need to know who you are though, because you could be lying. You probably are lying. Okay. If you're one of my exes, I want to know, would you leave your current situation for me? Not current me. Me whenever you were uh, in love with me or whatever, in lust or whatever. Would you leave your current situation for me? That's a question for my exes. But that's not the question of the night. That's a question for my exes. But the question of the night is going to be, stop cat, you're in front of the camera. Licking your stuff. Look at you. The question of the night is going to be, the question of the night is going to be, uh, let's make it something about somebody ex, because that's a topic that always seems to boil somebody's blood when they talk about their exes. The question of the night is, are you jealous of your ex's new boo? Of course you're gonna say no. Of course you're gonna say, but are you jealous of your ex's new boo? Honestly, like a little bit jealous. Like they was, saying things to you and using pet names for you. Like you ain't a little jealous that they probably using because most people ain't that creative. They ain't really gonna switch up. Not a lot. You got a pet name is gonna stay. You not jealous like at least a little bit that your ex is like. Okay, let's say you see your ex out somewhere and you haven't gotten into it. Y'all only broke up about mm, within a month's range. About 3 weeks ago. You see them out with somebody and you're walking down the street and they're walking and you can see him make eye contact with you as you're coming and you can see that he probably not going to speak to you. He probably not going to speak to you because he with his new girl or whatever. Well, I'm sorry. Either way it was, they probably not going to speak to you because they with their new boo or whatever. You can see it by y'all getting eye contact. Are you going to like stop them and speak to them or you just going to go by? Are you jealous of your ex? Like, it's the basic question. I mean, are you jealous of your ex's new uh, boo? It's like the basic question. Nobody want to be honest. Nobody want to be honest about that shit. But you know that in a way you feel some type of way because they got some, you know what I mean? But just want to know what y'all think. I purchased the fully commissioned so uh, people can listen to the whole thing, and I'm just gonna pick up where I left off yesterday, and I think it's the same thing. But let me put the question up there: are you jealous of your ex's new boo, even a little bit? everybody gonna say no. Are you jealous of your ex's new babe? Are you jealous of your ex's new babe? I have been. I'll be the first to be honest. I have been on many occasions. I've been jealous of one of my ex's new boyfriend. On many occasions, I have. Hi, Susan Coral. No. Hi, Susan. And like I say, are you jealous of your ex's new, even a little bit? You don't feel no type of way when you see your ex post on social media with their new boo. You don't feel no type of way at all, huh? You lying. You goddamn lying. I saw one of my exes from years ago on one of these social medias from years and years and years ago on one of these social medias with her husband. Or I don't know her situation. I just ran across her page. I don't know if she's married or what, but and I felt a tinge of jealousy. I felt a tinge of jealousy. She ain't been my ex in a long, 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 long time. And I saw her with her new man and I felt a tinge of jealousy. That don't mean that I want her back, but I just felt a tinge of jealousy. Why did I feel a tinge of jealousy? I don't know. I don't know. I just felt a tinge of jealousy. Just a little bit. A little bit. And I'm going to get back into fully commissioned. Hopefully we get some interaction going on that are you jealous of your ex's new work question. Your ex got some new work. Okay, let me see if they can take us back to where we was at. Let's see. Yep, there we go.
Bird was going to cut this shit short before the teasing even got started. He removed Sheena's arms from around his neck.
Bird, this is when I'm gonna go back 30 seconds. Bird, they had just got the packs and they decided that who was going to sell or what's calling what's going to. So Bird had a night off and he decided to go to a party around the projects and he ran into his old girlfriend Sheena. That's what was going on.
Friends since they were in the 3rd grade. Right now they were off. As a matter of fact, they'd been off since 2 years ago when Bird told her that he wanted some sex or he was cutting her loose. Sheena said that she was saving herself for marriage. They decided to separate. Now here she was standing here trying to be a dick teaser again. Bird was going to cut this shit short before the teasing even got started. He removed Sheena's arms from around his neck. Cut the dumb ass shit, Sheena. I ain't for all that teasing stuff that lead nowhere tonight. Who said it ain't leading nowhere tonight? Bird's conversation with Sheena was rudely interrupted when Mon Man's girlfriend Tiffany walked in between him and Sheena. Tiffany and Sheena had some kind of petty beef going on from school, and she acted like she didn't even see Sheena standing there. She looked straight at Bird. Mon Man got locked up today. Before Bird could even respond, Sheena was right up in Tiffany's face, yelling and pointing at her. Bitch, don't be walking in front of me like I ain't here. I should beat your motherfucking ass. Bird gently moved Sheena out of Tiffany's face. Chill out, Sheen. This ain't got nothing to do with you. He turned back to Tiffany. Locked up for what? The cops pulled him out of the car and found some drugs. Bird was totally confused. Whose car? His car. Monman got a car? Yeah.
Bird told Man Man not to buy no car because he didn't really want Man Man to get a record. He like excuse me. The shit Tracy was doing
he was gonna get locked up. The shit JB was doing, he was probably gonna get locked up. The shit Bird was doing, he was probably gonna get locked up. But Man was always gonna be the clean one. He was gonna pay for Man college and everything. And Man was gonna be the clean one, so we got somebody with some clean money. He was thinking about when they get older. Man supposed to be the one that keep going to school. And now that Man got this little, you know what I mean, he got a juvie Jones. I mean, we'll see.
Bird shook his head, but he didn't say anything.
But Bird was
Tiffany
mad
started
that
talking
Man got
again.
locked up.
You gonna get him out of jail? How I'ma get him out of jail, Tiffany? My man a juvenile. He can't get out until at least Monday, and his mom gotta go get him. He'll be all right until then. My man can hold his own. Bird told Tiffany that, but he didn't really believe it. He hoped that Mon Man wouldn't bitch up if he got into a fight in there, because he was represented for the whole commission wherever he went at. Bird wondered what Mon Man had got locked up with, and more importantly, why the fuck had he bought a car? Dumbass shit like this was the main reason that Bird had Mon Man watching the game from the sidelines now. He'd known Man the longest out of any of his partners in the commission, but it might be best for everyone if he cut Mon Man loose. At this point, he was becoming more of a hindrance than an asset. All he'd asked Man to do was to go to school and not get locked up. And he couldn't even do that. Mon was making over $5,000 a week for doing absolutely nothing, yet he still couldn't manage to stay out of trouble. If Mon Man couldn't keep a clean criminal record, he was useless to him. Bird could see no other alternative except to cut Mon Man off. Bird looked at his pager as he walked down the street. He shook his head. Bird knew that he'd made a big mistake by having sex with Sheena Saturday night from the moment he bust a nut. Sheena had always been the clingy type, but she'd taken her clinginess to another level after they had sex. She literally beeped him every 10 minutes, and she really expected him to call her back every time. The shit was ridiculous. Bird didn't have time to think about Sheena right now. He had some other shit on his mind. Mon's mother went up to the jail and got him out early Monday morning, and Bird was on his way to Mon's house. He got to Man's front door and rang the doorbell. Man answered the door smiling. "What's up, B? Come on in." Bird shook Man's hand and walked inside. He looked around before he sat down.
Yeah, that's a lot of shit.
"I'm surprised you ain't got Tiffany up in here since your mom's is at work." Man took a seat in the recliner chair across from the couch and leaned back. "She ain't get home from school yet." Bird nodded and looked at his pager that was constantly going off. "So you got your cherry pop-top?" Mon was confused. "Huh. Got locked up." Mon laughed. "Oh, yeah. I always thought that I would have been first. You probably would have if those bitch-ass police ain't plant them caps on me, and them bitch-ass cops stole $7 grand from me too. I can't wait until I go to court. I'm gonna sue their ass and get all of my money back." Bird shook his head before he spoke. "Fight to get the money back so they can have more of a reason to say that the caps they found was yours.
You don't believe in God?
Drugs and money go hand in hand.
Of course
Man, fuck that. The
This
shit
ain't that.
those cops found wasn't
This
mine.
ain't that.
They can't lock me up for some shit I ain't do."
This ain't that.
Bird shook his head again. "Just like always, you're missing the big picture." "What's the big picture?" "If you wouldn't have done some dumb shit like buying a car, you wouldn't even be in this situation. You don't have no driver's license. You look like you're 10 years old, and you probably didn't even have a license plate on that shit. It was only a matter of time before you got pulled over. Now you ain't got no car in a fucking drug case. The worst kind of case that you can get. I told you that I couldn't afford for you to get locked up when we started this shit, and that's exactly what you did." Bird passed Man the sneaker bag that he was carrying. "This is 20 grand. We got $80,000 worth of product, and this is your share." I'll bring your cut of this week's profits from everything else after the meeting this week. You're out, Mon Man. The commission don't got no use for you no more. Mon Man opened up the bag and looked at the money. He let out a dry laugh. I always knew you was a slimy motherfucker, Bird. You wanted to get me out from the jump. You was just looking for a reason. Ever since I knew you, everything has been about you, but you try to make people think that it ain't. I bet we got more than $80,000 worth of shit, and some kind of a way you're trying to fuck me out of my even share like you always do. I don't know how much shit we got. You don't even let me bag up anymore. Bird was pissed off that Mon Man was accusing him of this, when all that he ever tried to do was keep Mon Man out of trouble. You dumb motherfucker. You don't even know what's going on. I tried to keep your dumb ass out of trouble. Do you know what happens to people who do crime, dickhead? They go to jail. I'm cool with me, JB, or Trey going to jail because things can still operate with any one of us locked up. Your dumb ass was supposed to be the one running everything from far, far away, with no connections or ties to any of us or drugs. Your dumb ass was supposed to be the one to build our legal empire. Bars, clubs, houses, and shit. You can't get no liquor license with a conviction for drugs on your record, dummy. My man was fucked up. He had no idea that Bird had been thinking that far into the future. He was starting to feel kind of bad for accusing Bird of being slimy now. Mon wanted to move away from that conversation and try to salvage some kind of future as a partner in the commission. I ain't lose the case yet, and even if I do, I can get my juvenile record expunged when I turn 18. So everything's not totally fucked up. This is just a little bump in the road. Bird knew that Mon Man was right. He'd already looked into all of this before he even brought this conversation to Mon. Truth be told, he did want to kick Mon Man out for not listening to him, and Mon Man getting locked up had been a good enough reason for him to do it. But sitting here with Mon Man was really starting to make him change his mind. Bird had a soft spot in his heart for his best friend. Bird snatched the sneaker bag from Man Man. I'll write you back in, but no more dumb shit, okay? This shit was halfway my fault anyway because I should have let you know what was going on. I won't make that mistake again. The first thing we gotta do is find you a good ass lawyer to knock this little case off. Chapter 8. Trouble. 1987. The commission was on top of things in North Philly, and the youngsters were quietly starting to be recognized by most hustlers in the game, and also feared by some in North Philly. All of the corner crews, stick-up kids, and murderers in North Philly knew or had heard about Trey and his clique of stick-up boys and murderers. They'd also heard stories about what type of work they had been putting in. All of the major trickin' types in the city knew of or had heard about JB and his stable of fine hoes that he now had. All of the drug dealers in North Philly knew of or had heard about Bird, and that he always had the best of any kind of drug that a person could want. It was also known that he always had lower prices than anyone else. The best thing about it all was that everyone knew that they all were connected in some kind of way. No one knew exactly how, but it was common knowledge that they were all together somehow. That was just how Bird hoped that things would be when he first formed the commission. He wanted them to be known and talked about, while at the same time not being known and being feared to speak of. Meaning people knew who they were, but not exactly how deep they were. Between all of the drug workers and stick-up kids that the commission had on payroll, the squad was well over 100 deep if they ever needed to come together for any reason. Things were going along just as Bird had planned for them to. Bird hired a defense lawyer named Jonathan Nashfield to handle Man Man's drug case. Nashfield was a young, hungry, up-and-coming defense lawyer who was looking to make a name for himself. He got Mon Man's drug case thrown out at the preliminary hearing. Immediately after the case was over, Bird went to Nashville's office and gave him a retainer's fee. He knew that he would be needing to use Nashville's services again in the future. Every move in Bird's life was masterfully planned and mapped out like it was a game of chess. The only thing that was happening in Bird's life that had not been planned was Sheena's pregnancy. Bird didn't take his own advice when he told himself that he would not be sleeping with Sheena again after the first time they'd slept together. He began having sex with her more and more until he fucked around and got her pregnant. Surprisingly, he was actually cool with that because him and Sheena were already planning to get their own place together. And now that there was a baby involved, that would make things even better. They would be a family. Sheena was a pain in the ass sometimes, but she was his pain in the ass, and he loved her. Bird even started going to school more often since everything in the streets was being taken care of so well. At school was the first time that Bird had ever heard the name LBG. LBG, or Little Black Gangstas, as they were known around town, were the sons, nephews, and youngins of the legendary violent crime organization, the Philadelphia Black Gangstas. The Philly Black Gangstas ruled the city's underworld with an iron fist in the late 1960s and early 70s. It was rumored that most of the hustlers in the city who wasn't down with or a part of the Black Gangstas at that time feared them, and for good reason. They ran through the city robbing, kidnapping, and killing anyone who was getting money and wasn't down with them. They were a highly organized and very respected group of individuals in the city. The major players in the organization were eventually federally indicted and sentenced to very long prison sentences. Some escaped the indictments, but most of the top people in the organization went down in the indictment. With its top bosses locked away behind bars for years and years, the organization crumbled and ultimately disappeared. The major players in the organization had less than a 2-year run before they were locked up, but they left an everlasting mark on the city of Philadelphia. Even today, the name Philly Black Gangstas strikes fear in the hearts of people who were around to witness the levels of violence and intimidation that the city was plagued with when the organization was strong and active. The irony of the Little Black Gangstas was that they weren't little or young at all. That was just the name that they adopted. Most of the upper echelon of the LBG were in their late 30s and early 40s. They adopted the same formula of ruling the city with fear and intimidation as their elders had, and they were surely destined to suffer the same fate their OGs had suffered. In all reality, the Philly Black Gangstas were the blueprint for how Bird wanted to form and shape the commission. The crazy part about that was the fact that he wanted to do the exact opposite of what they did, in the hope of avoiding the very same fate that they ultimately had. Bird and Omar had become very close friends since they always hung together in school. On top of that, they were doing a lot of business together. Omar told Bird all of his business. When Omar told Bird that his dad was at war out southwest Philly with the LBG was the first time that Bird had ever heard of them. Omar kept telling Bird that his dad's peoples were from Jamaica and that they were no joke. He told Bird that his dad's crew would knock the whole gang out of the box in less than a month's time. Bird didn't really pay any attention to the shit Omar was talking. Truthfully, he thought that most of it was lies and made up war stories with an imaginary gang. Even if it wasn't a lie, Bird didn't really care. Anything that was going on in Southwest Philly didn't concern him, for now. If shit popped off in North, then that would be a different story. When Omar came to school a couple of weeks later and said that his dad's crew was losing in the war and him and his family might have to move to New York soon, Bird began to believe that the war stories that Omar had been telling might actually be true. Who the hell in their right mind would make up a war story that they lost or were losing? Bird would get a chance to see just how true Omar's war stories were with his own eyes very soon. Even though he got out of school at 12:30 today, Bird planned on cutting out early so that he could go home and finish bagging up. He walked to Omar's math class and let him know that he was about to leave. Omar decided that he was going to leave school early today too. It didn't make any sense for him to stay at school for the whole day if Bird wasn't there with him. The two headed for the front door and walked out of the building. Even at 11 o'clock in the morning, there was a crowd of people in front of the school. There was always a bunch of people in front of the school smoking, fighting, or just hanging out. Omar and Bird decided that they were going to smoke a blunt together before they parted ways. Bird wanted to go see Sheena at her aunt's house on 7th Street before he went home to bag up. After they finished smoking the blunt, they shook hands, and Bird started heading toward 7th Street. Omar started walking in the other direction, heading toward 9th Street. When Bird got to the corner, he heard some yelling. He turned around to see what the commotion was. Bird turned around in time to see two dudes roughly shoving Omar into a black BMW. By the time Bird started running back that way, the car that they had shoved Omar into had pulled off and was long gone. The other BMW that was with the black one flew directly past Bird, doing every bit of 75 or 80 miles per hour. Bird couldn't see the faces inside of the fast-moving car behind the dark tinted windows. He did get a glimpse of the license plate as the car drove by. The plate had 3 simple letters on it, LBG. Bird was fucked up about Omar's kidnapping in broad daylight. He felt that some kind of way he should have done more to help him. The shit had popped off so quickly that he had been totally caught off guard and unprepared. And like a dummy, he had his gun inside of his book bag because that was where he always put it at when he was in school. He knew that he should have took the gun out of his book bag and put it on his waist the minute he stepped outside of the building. Bird felt partially responsible for Omar's kidnapping. When Bird began seeing BMWs with LBG on the license plate start to pop up in his hood, and people walking up and down Germantown Avenue rocking big-ass chains with LBG pieces, Bird was ready to get some get back. Bird felt that whoever these LBG dudes were, that they weren't built to war with the commission, and Bird was ready to prepare his team to go right at them. Bird headed to Al's house to buy some more guns and ammo for the war that he was about to start. He knocked on Al's front door. As usual, Al answered the door wearing his house robe and a pair of Timbs. "What's up, youngin'? I ain't expect to see you until Saturday. Come on in." Enough was enough. Bird had to know why this old-ass nigga was always in his robe and a pair of boots. As soon as he sat down inside the house, Bird asked him, "Hey Al, man, I gotta know. Why the hell you always walking around in a robe and a pair of Timbs?" Al laughed his ass off. "Have you not ever looked around when you came in here? I ain't got nothing but bitches walking around in here. I fuck all day and night. What the fuck I need to wear clothes for? I put the robe on out of respect to you and any other male visitors I may have come through. I'd be butt-ass naked under this robe." Bird shook his head. "So what's up with the boots? Why you don't just wear slippers like a normal person?" "Because I'm always ready for war. Shit can pop off anywhere at any time, even in your own house. The last thing I want to be is sliding around in some damn bedroom slippers if shit do pop off. I'ma tell you something I ain't never told anyone else because I fucks with you. All of this stuff that you see piled up everywhere that you probably call junk is where it is for a reason. That shit is shields, and I got guns strategically placed all around this motherfucker. I'm begging a nigga to run up in here and try to rob me." Bird laughed. He was convinced that this old nigga was completely insane. "Yeah, I know. You a gangsta from way, way back. Check this out, old head. I need some more Roscoes. Not no handguns this time. I need some Uzis and machine guns and shit like that. I'll take a couple grenades too if you can get any. Al stared at Bird. Grenades? What the fuck you about to do? Go to war with somebody? Something like that. Al stood up and threw his hands in the air in exasperation. What the hell for? Shit need to be done, man. Al shook his head. You know what I said to one of my bitches after the first time you ever visited me? Bird shook his head. Al continued. I said that young buck is different. That young buck gonna last in the game a long time. People who fight wars out there don't last a long time and they don't make any money. When you're trying to stay off of the police's radar, war is your worst enemy. I really thought that you were a lot smarter than this. So what I'm supposed to do? Sit back and let motherfuckers run all over me? You won't last long in this game without respect either. Nigga, step up. Nigga gotta be dealt with. Everybody know that. Al laughed. Says who? I made over $20 million in those same streets that you're running right now, and I've never done any time in jail. Never even been booked into the district. You know why? I've never been flashy and I never hung around knuckleheads that were. All that shooting in the streets and shit is just begging.
Question of the night is: are you at least a little jealous of your ex's new boo? Nobody wanna, or maybe there ain't nobody in there. Nobody wanna answer that question. Are you at least a little jealous of your ex's new boo? Just a little bit jealous? Just a little? I was a couple times.
Begging for some attention. Yeah, there were times that I had to put a couple niggas down, but I always did it by myself, and I never brought attention to myself by letting off a million shots in the middle of the street and hitting innocent women and children in the process. I hit my target every time because when it's time for me to get a nigga, he getting a dome shot at point blank range. A one-man army ain't got nobody to snitch on him. Man, I'm with you on that one-man army shit. That's the same way I like to get down, but that shit ain't gonna work in this kind of situation. These some other kind of niggas. Youngin', it's only one kind of nigga, and that's a dumb one. If motherfuckers out there running around and shooting shit up, they're going to jail. I'm guessing that whoever you're going after is some kind of gang of niggas, huh? Yeah, they're called little black gangsters. Al didn't say anything. He just looked straight ahead. Bird could see in Al's eyes that there had to be a reason that Al had suddenly got quiet and was sitting her looking like he wanted to say something, but not talking. Bird continued. You heard of him? Al finally broke his silence. Yeah, I heard of him, and I'm not getting you no guns, so you can run out there and get yourself killed. I don't know how big you think your gang is, but trust me, the black gangsters is bigger. This little black gangsters that you're speaking of is connected to more shit in this city than you can even begin to imagine. Bird scoffed. Al was sounding like a real pussy right now. They got guns. I got guns too. It's all about who gets who first. I fear no man. They all bleed when that lead hits that flesh. It ain't no pussy-ass nigga sitting over here. And what about your mom and the rest of your family living around the corner? Do they bleed when lead hits their flesh? What about your girlfriend? What about all of your loved ones for that matter? You're not dealing with fighting a war between you and them. You will be fighting a war in which every person you love will become fair game. And there's nowhere to hide. The arm of the black gangsta stretches throughout the whole United States and in prison. Especially in prison. I know that you think you got a little army, and you think that y'all are ready for anything, and you just might be. But you are only 15 years old. And you have way too many loved ones living in the same neighborhood that you're about to fight your war in to even think about being involved with this kind of shit with these kind of individuals. It has nothing to do with being a pussy. Smart men know when to put their foolish pride to the side for the greater good of his loved ones.
Oh, for a second. That's right. I had these. These is TV. I mean CDs. These are CDs. They ain't making. They probably not gonna make more CD players or whatever. But some people do use CD players or whatever. But things like these become collector's items sometimes. And sometimes, like I was telling you about eBay, these may be the kind of things that you may want to list because to some people they use collector's items and you don't know how much a person is willing to pay for it. This is Miles Davis CD and it's in good condition. It's in very good condition. I'm gonna list these joints somewhere between $5 and $10. I ain't trying to. I'm gonna list them between $5 and $10, but they all in really good condition. The cases may not be, but the actual disc is in good condition. This is Yellow Jackets. I don't even know what this is, but is I don't even know what this is. Yellow Jackets, but the CD is in good condition, very good condition. The case is in fair condition. Mary J. Blige, uh, Black Rose Tyrese. This is new. It hasn't been opened up. Live at Birdland. That's brand new. Still got the plastic on it. That's a little old. This is Maxwell. Chris Brown. Young Chris Brown. Mary J. Blige. What's the 411? Her first joint. So the 411. Very good condition. I'm about to list them on eBay tonight. This is Jeffrey Osborne. If they're not already on there, I'm not sure. Jeffrey Osborne, very good condition. This is John Coltrane, Giant Steps, brand new, still in the plastic. And this is classic jazz. What is going on there? Like a bumblebee in this one. This is classic jazz, volume 2. I hope there ain't a bumblebee in there. No, this is classic jazz. Volume 2, the case is in fair condition, but the CD is in good condition, really good condition. I'm gonna list these joints tonight, but I'm gonna put them all between $5 and $10, somewhere around there. Like I say, they may be worth something, they may not be worth something. It's up to you. You may like them, or whatever. But you still got the discount code that I gave you the first time, so you're gonna get 50% off anyway. Because I gave you the discount code the first time.
Besides, gangs like this don't last long in Philadelphia anyway. It's just a matter of time before them and everyone they ever war with are locked up. Wars with crews like this put you right in the crosshairs of the indictment that will eventually come down against them. The minute that Al said something about his family being fair game, Bert instantly thought about Omar being kidnapped. LBG was at war with Omar's dad. Omar didn't even have shit to do with that. Bert was built for anything that came along with being in the drug game, but he couldn't see himself being selfish enough to put his family in jeopardy because of something that he was involved in and they had nothing to do with. All of Bert's family still lived in the hood, and Bert was starting to realize that he was not equipped to war with an organization as big as L.B.G. right now. Bert promised himself that in the future, the commission would become big enough and equipped enough to war with anyone who dared to step foot in not just North Philly with the dumb shit, but all of Philadelphia. For now, the smart move was to sit this one out and watch things play out from the sidelines. Chapter 9. In the commission, you asked for permission to hit him? Bert read in the newspaper that his friend Omar had been found dead in Fairmount Park. 3 of his fingers from each hand had been chopped off. All of his toes had been chopped off, and he'd been shot over 20 times. Omar's torture and execution had been a brutal one that had everyone in the city whispering about it. No one knew for sure, but most people were pretty sure that because of the brutality of the murder, that it had been LBG's work. That was enough to make people in the hood have a legitimate fear of LBG, and when they began moving their drug operations into the hood, they were met with very little resistance from anyone. Damn near all of the little drug crews in the neighborhood that had been their own bosses and working for themselves were now a part of and working for LBG. Bird was disgusted with everyone in his hood. Instead of coming together and forming one big group in order to fight a common enemy, these bitch-ass niggas was laying it down and joining the enemy. Bird promised himself that when everything was said and done, and LBG went to prison forever and a day, every single person from his hood who had joined and collaborated with LBG weren't going to be allowed to get money in his hood anymore. He was personally going to see to that shit. With LBG making their way into his hood, the commission's money was starting to slow down. LBG was killing it.
Bird started getting kind of big-headed because they had a little squad, but it wasn't as big as Bird was making it seem at the time. But they did have a little squad, but Bird was making it seem like it was bigger than that at the time. He was getting big-headed because, he got the power to do this, and he was getting big-headed. It wasn't as big as he was thinking that it was.
Anyone in the hood who was getting money that didn't get down with them. They were shooting shit up every day and every night. The constant gun battles had the police coming around a lot more than they used to. They were locking up way more people than they used to. All of Bird's corners were feeling the heat from the police. With his corner workers getting locked up every day, Bird was starting to lose major money between the losses, bail money, and legal fees he had to kick out. It was starting to cause Bird more money having product out on the block than having no product out there at all. Bird began to pull some of his product from the corners and concentrate more on moving his work and weight. LBG's presence in the hood was starting to indirectly affect his pockets, and it was taking every ounce of restraint he had in his body not to lash out at them and start a war. If it wasn't for JB and the pimpin', the commission would be having serious money troubles right about now. While their drug and robbery money had slowed down, the commission's pimpin' business was booming. JB had over 20 hoes working for him now, and all of them were between the ages of 17 to 22. Old-ass men loved JB's stable of young chicks. JB's business quickly spread from the streets to the corporate world in Philly. JB had whole corporations booking his girls for conventions and parties. JB had flex rates for his hoes. He was charging a minimum of $500 an hour to some customers and up to $5,000 an hour to others. It didn't go by which chick a person wanted to see. JB's rates went by how deep he thought a person's pockets were. JB was making bank for the commission. The shit going on in the hood did not affect the pimpin' not one bit. JB was a hustler, and even though he was making good money with the pimpin', he was always looking to make more. JB organized a separate group of girls who did nothing but steal expensive clothes and watches from department stores all day. He had 10 chicks boosting for him, and they stole nothing but expensive shit. Even though JB was selling the stolen goods in the streets for 50% of what the stuff cost in stores, he was still making good money from that hustle too. JB was eating, and he was breaking the commission down there 25% from the proceeds of both of his hustles. At this point, JB was pretty much carrying the commission on his back. On Saturday night, Bird called the leaders of the commission to the table for an emergency meeting. Trey thought he had an idea what the meeting was about, because just like everyone else, he'd been noticing the people with LBG pieces on their chains and the BMWs with LBG on the license plates popping up in his neighborhood too. He was ready for war and just waiting for Bird to give him the green light. JB and Mon Mon had no idea of what the meeting might be about. LBG's presence in the hood had not affected their lives one bit. Bird walked into the back room of the abandoned house and sat in one of the new chairs they'd bought for their headquarters. Look, y'all, we got a problem that needs to be handled in a smart way. I know everyone has been seeing these niggas wearing LBG chains and driving around with LBG on their license plates. These niggas seem to be everywhere. These niggas are a problem too. Tracy smiled and rubbed his hands together. He couldn't wait to hit the streets and murder some niggas. Bird looked directly at Tracy and continued. These niggas is a problem, but these niggas ain't our problem. JB and Mod Man, y'all cool. Just keep doing what y'all are doing, but Trey, me and you are going to have our money slowed down for a minute. Trey jumped up out of his seat. What? Man, fuck them niggas. I do the killing around this bitch, not the running. I ain't scared of shit. If niggas want a war, let's take these bitches to war. It ain't a nigga in the world I'ma let slow my money down. I'ma get mine. Bird looked at Trey and waited for him to finish his rant. You finished? Fuck no, I ain't finished, nigga. I got a whole lot more to say. Bird looked at Trey and showed no emotion. Well, go ahead. Get it off your chest. Trey was dumbfounded. He really didn't have anything else to say, and Bird had caught him off guard. I can't remember what I wanted to say right now, but trust me, I got some more nigga. Mon Mon covered his face as he giggled. Bird stood up and continued. These LBG niggas is going down. You really think niggas that run around and do wild shit all day and night ain't gonna get locked up soon? They going down, and I'm not going to let them take us down with them. Look at all the flashy jewelry and cars these niggas drive around in, and everything got the name of their gang on it. They might as well make a fucking billboard and say, here we go, lock us up. Nah, man, we ain't going out like that. Our thing is going to last. Remember, we are trying to get money for life, not a year or two. Every battle does not need to be fought in order to win a war. Bird always had the ability to make what he was saying sound like he really knew what he was talking about. That was one of the main reasons that no one usually questioned the moves he made. His little talk even had Trey come around to seeing things his way. Bird was born to be a leader. When he talked, everyone listened. He never got too excited or too down about anything. He had the perfect temperament to lead. With his cool demeanor on the outside, it was hard to tell what Bird really had going on in the inside. Truth be told, Bird wasn't really sure if what he just said about LBG eventually getting locked up held any truth to it. These dudes might be around forever. Martel and Vern snorted cocaine daily, and they eventually dragged Trey into participating in their bad habit. Trey was careful not to let anyone in the commission know about his new habit, but people were starting to notice that he was always extra hyped about everything. Trey went and bought himself a 1984 Ford Escort on his 15th birthday.
This was, I think this was 87 when this was taking place. This was 87. So he bought a car that was 3 years old.
He didn't have his driver's license yet, but he did have his learner's permit, and Trey also had enough good sense not to ever drive around dirty. Trey's car was a hoopty, but he fixed it up. The car looked nice after he had some work done to it. Trey got the car painted black and threw some 5-star rims on it. He had the hatchback of the car filled with a cabinet that held 2 15 subwoofers inside of it. For his very first car, the Ford Escort was cool for him, and Trey loved his ride. Trey and Vern sat inside of Trey's apartment snorting coke and drinking a 40 ounces of St. Ides while they waited for Martel to get back from Kentucky Fried Chicken with their food. Vern looked at Trey, who was busy feeding his nostrils. This nigga taking too long. I'm hungry as shit. Trey stopped snorting for just a minute, long enough for him to answer. That nigga better not crash my car. If he do, he better take my shit straight to the shop to get it fixed. Trey went back to snorting. 5 minutes later, Martel came walking in with their food in his hands. Trey looked up at him. Nigga, you crashed my car? Hell no, I know how to drive. Man, I ain't want to get out the car. That system in there be bumping. Trey laughed. I'ma get some more speakers put in that bitch tomorrow too. Vern started opening up the bags. He looked at Martel as he did. What the fuck took you so long, nigga? Martel snapped his fingers. I knew it was something I forgot to tell y'all niggas. I saw one of them LBG niggas getting gas at the gas station, and I decided to follow the nigga. Can you believe them niggas got a crack house right around the corner from here? Vern looked up with a mouthful of chicken. Oh, we getting them niggas tonight? Trey stretched out on the couch and yawned. No, we not. Martel looked at Trey like he was crazy. Why not? We ain't take no money all week. And I still gave y'all niggas money every day. Nigga, you ain't broke. Stop acting like you are. We move when I say we move. And if you don't like it, then roll the fuck out. Trey got up off of the couch and walked to the bedroom. He closed the door behind him. He was going to get in a little nap before he went out later. Martel grabbed the bag of cocaine from the table and took a long snort. He grabbed Trey's car keys from the table and looked at Vern. I'll be right back. Martel headed out the door. Vern turned the channel on the TV and went back to eating his food. Martel parked Trey's car right in front of LBG's crack house on 5th and Hunting Park Avenue. He walked up to the front door and knocked. A crackhead opened the door and Martel walked inside. As soon as one of the young workers saw Martel come into the house, he stood up from the dirty-ass couch he'd been sitting on. What you need, red tops or black? Martel pulled out his 9mm and shot the boy in the chest 3 times. The crackheads who were in the house scattered everywhere like roaches when the lights came on. Martel turned around and shot the other young worker who was still sitting on the dirty couch in the head. Martel searched both dead bodies for drugs and money before he ran out of the house and sped off in Trey's car. The 2 boys that Martel killed were just 12 years old. Today was the boys' very first day selling drugs. They'd been drug dealers for less than 2 hours before they were gunned down and their lives came to an abrupt end. Martel parked Trey's car in front of Trey's apartment building and ran inside. He ran up the stairs to the 3rd floor and slid Trey's car keys under his apartment door. Martel ran back out of the building. In his rush to get away from the crime scene and the car that was sure to be evidence, Martel forgot that he'd left his gun under the driver's seat in Trey's car. Trey was awakened by a room full of screaming police officers yelling and pointing their guns at him. Trey had no idea what was going on, but he knew better than to say anything at all. He was pretty sure that something he'd done in the past was catching up to him right now. Trey and Vern were taken from the apartment to the homicide division at 8th and Race Streets. Chapter 10. Loyalty is a must. After 72 hours of being questioned and held at the homicide unit's headquarters, Vern was released. He was not considered a suspect in the murders of the 2 young boys. That was the good news. The bad news was that Trey, however, had been charged with 2 counts of murder in the 1st degree. His car being seen fleeing from the scene of the crime and the gun that was found under his driver's seat had been enough evidence for the police to charge him with the murders. Because of the severity of the crimes, Trey was certified and charged as an adult. He was being held at Holmesburg Jail for adults on State Road. The minute Bird heard about Trey being locked up, he called Nashville. Bird also hired 2 more of the best lawyers in Philadelphia to handle Trey's murder case.
They did a little couple crimes before, but they about to really cross over from boys to grown men shit.
Trey had a legal team that would make O.J. Simpson's squad look like a joke. Counsel like this came with a very steep price. If Trey's case made it to trial, it was going to cost the commission over $100,000 for the dream team of lawyers. $100,000 wouldn't have been a big deal if things hadn't been slow thanks to the LBG. The commission had the money, but the steep price was going to make them have to go deep into the commission stash. Even though that was the case, no one hesitated to go into their personal stashes to help come up with the money for the lawyers. The commission took care of their own, and Trey was one of the family. This is what family does for one another. The only problem was that Trey was probably going to have to sit in jail until his trial rolled around. This could become a problem to the commission because no one else in the squad knew any of Trey's team of soldiers that he had on the payroll. Those soldiers were surely going to be needed in the next few months. Bird needed to see Trey and talk to him face to face, but he couldn't go up to the jail by himself because he was still a juvenile. Bird got his brother Rome to take him to Trey's mother's house. Bird had to bribe Trey's mom with a $1,000 payment to go up to the jail to see Trey with him because she said that she did not want to see her son.
Question of the night is still, do you get a little jealous, just a little jealous when you see one of your exes with their new person, rather it be on social media or in person? Do you get a little jealous? Or you're not jealous at all? You just, everybody got to answer that. They not jealous at all. Like, it ain't about nothing. What? Do you get a little jealous when you see your ex with somebody new? That's the question.
She said that she hoped he stayed in jail for the rest of his life, just like his no-good daddy. Trey's mother had not forgiven him for what happened when she went out of town to Atlantic City. Child Protection Services had removed her 2 youngest sons from her custody after little Dave spent time in the hospital after swallowing Trey's crack vials. Bird managed to get her to go, and Rome drove them up to the jail. Trey was in an adult jail, but he was being housed in one of the juvenile units. The juveniles had to get their visits behind the glass because they were always separated from the adult prisoners. Trey took a seat behind the glass and watched as Bird and his mother approached. Trey's mom walked up to the glass and looked him directly in the eyes. "I told your black ass you wasn't going to be shit." She didn't say anything else. She just turned around and started heading toward the vending machines. Bird walked up and took a seat in front of the glass partition. It had small holes in it, so there was no need for a phone. Everything could be heard loud and clear. "Niggas rape you in this bitch yet?" Bird and Trey both began cracking up. "Fuck no nigga. They said they waiting for you to come in here." Bird laughed. "What's up with you though?" "Oh man, they got me on the juvenile wing up in this piece. I'm in here running shit. I only been here for 3 weeks, and I done knocked 4 niggas smooth the fuck out already." "Anybody we know in this joint?" "Yeah, it's like 2 dudes from around my way and a couple of them Franklin Street niggas in here. If any of LBG Young Bulls come through here, I'm smashing them niggas on sight. Man, fuck them niggas right now. We gotta get you the fuck out of here. The lawyers came to see you yet?" "Yeah, I talked to Nashville the other day. He said I probably ain't gonna get no bail, but we gonna spank this case." "That shit beatable. They ain't got nothing on you." Trey looked at Bird like he was crazy. "I know it's beatable because I ain't do the shit." "Word?" "Yeah, it had to be Martell. He was the only one that had my car. I told that dumb motherfucker not to go around there fucking with them people." "And he still did it?" Yup. Bird rubbed his chin. Your boy Martell in the fucking way. It's whatever. Fuck that nigga. There was a green light placed on Martell with that small exchange of words. In the commission, there was never a long conversation about placing a contract on someone's head. Bird continued. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask. What's up with your mans that got knocked with you? You talking about Vern? Yeah, Vern's solid. He can run things while you're down? Yeah, Vern good peoples. Alright, I need you to get in touch with that nigga Vern and have him bring the nigga Martell past HQ. Don't tell him what's up. Tell him you came up on some info up in here, and it's a sweet robbery. We'll take care of the rest. Bird gave Trey's mom $1,000 for her to put on Trey's books before they left the jail. Bird watched her deposit the money into Trey's account to make sure she wouldn't stuff on him. Bird sat in the back of his brother's car contemplating things as they headed home. Trey was in jail behind Martell not listening to Trey and going out and doing some dumb shit. It was time to teach the niggas in Trey's crew a lesson. Not listening and doing dumb shit was punishable by death in the commission. Martell had been laying low ever since the murders. He wasn't in jail, but he wasn't getting any money either. As a matter of fact, no one in Trey's crew had been getting any kind of money ever since Trey got locked up. Trey had always been the one to set up the robberies for his crew, and he was also the heart of the team. When the robbery business had slowed down, it had been Trey who was putting money in everyone's pockets with his share of the weekly earnings from the commission. Without Trey and his connection to the commission, his whole team was pretty much lost. Martell jumped up from the couch when he heard a knock at his front door. He immediately grabbed for his gun as he walked to the window to take a peek outside. When he saw Vern standing there, he breathed a sigh of relief. He'd been sitting in the house scared shitless, but he composed himself and put his killer persona on before he opened the door. Nigga, you almost got your dumb ass smoked. Vern shook Martell's hand and walked inside the house. He took a seat on the couch. Hey, I talked to Trey today. He said anything about the case? Is one time looking for me? No, he ain't say nothing about the case. I don't think the cops know nothing about you. He did put me up on a sweet-ass robbery, though. Oh, yeah? Yup. He said some bull on his block told him about some old man who hustled out of an abandoned house down 10 and Dauphin. Trey said the old nigga ain't got no gun or nothing, and he most likely holding a nice piece of paper in there. Even though it sounded too good to be true, Martell couldn't resist the temptation of going after some easy money. About time Trey got his mind right and got back to thinking about getting this money. Too bad he had to wait till he got locked up to come to his fucking senses. Vern nodded. Trey said we should take the old nigga down tonight because the old man's supposed to re-up, and he's probably going to have all of his money on him. That or either we'll catch him with a bunch of coke. Trey said all he want out of the deal is $500 put on his books. All right, we gon' go get the old nigga tonight. Vern and Martell left Martell's house and headed for the abandoned house on 10th and Dauphin Streets at 11 p.m. Martell walked into the abandoned house first. It was so dark in there that he couldn't see his own hand in front of his face. He pulled out his cigarette lighter with one hand and reached for his gun with the other. Vern grabbed his gun from his waist too. They looked around the first floor and made their way to the kitchen. There was no one in here. Martell heard a noise coming from upstairs. He pointed at the ceiling. Vern nodded. They headed for the staircase and slowly crept up the stairs. When they got to the top of the stairs, they saw a light coming from the back room. Martell tiptoed toward the room, followed by Vern. When Martell peeked his head into the room, he was hit in the head with a baseball bat. Vern felt a gun pointed at the back of his head. At the same time, he watched Martel fall to the floor and drop his gun. JB took Vern's gun out of his hand and pushed him into the room. Bird picked up Martel's gun. He dropped on the floor when Bird hit him with the bat. Bird put the gun inside his pocket. Martel laid on the floor, moaning and grabbing his head. Bird pointed the baseball bat back and forth at Martel and Vern as he spoke. "Which one of you niggas is Vern?" Vern said nothing. Martel, thinking that Vern was the main target of their assailants, spoke up in order to try to save his own ass. He pointed at Vern. "That nigga over there is Vern." Bird pointed the bat at Vern. "Get your bitch ass over there in that corner." Vern started to walk to the corner of the room. Bird walked behind him like he was getting ready to hit him with the bat. He quickly turned around and caught Martel on the left side of his face with the bat. Martel lost 2 teeth and blood began to pour from his mouth. Martel balled up and put his hands over his head. Bird pointed the bat at Vern. "Watch what I do to your homie." Bird hit Martel over the head with the bat over and over until he bashed Martel's skull in. Vern threw up as he watched the gruesome scene play out right before his eyes. Bird was feeling a little queasy too, but he didn't let it show. He pointed the blood-soaked bat at Vern as he stood over top of Martel's dead body, breathing heavily. "You motherfuckers work for Trey and Trey is with us. When somebody tell you niggas to do something, you do what you're told, or this will be the end result." Bird threw the bat at Martel's dead body and looked at Vern as he continued. "You are in charge of Trey's crew until he comes home, and you don't move on anything unless you're told to." Bird pulled a beeper out of his pocket and handed it to Vern. He then handed Vern $3,500 in cash and $2,500 worth of product. "Take this and spread it out between y'all crew. Make sure everybody gets a fair share of this. The number to the beeper is on the back. Don't give this number to nobody. When we call you, it will have code 350 behind the number. If a number beeps you and it don't have code 350 behind it, don't call back. Never call back from your house. Always a payphone. And when you're told to do something, you do it. And don't move on anyone unless you're told to do so." Bird purposely repeated that last part no less than 3 times. JB gave Vern his gun back, and Vern headed out the door. Bird could have easily shot and killed Martel with his gun, but the brutal beating with the bat served a purpose. He had to go the extra mile to leave a lasting memory in Vern's mind of exactly what type of individuals he was dealing with. Vern would fall right in line, and after he told the rest of his crew what he witnessed, they would fall in line too. Bird and JB dragged the dead body into the basement and hoped that it wouldn't be found or start stinking anytime soon. They definitely weren't going to be able to use this abandoned house as their headquarters anymore. It was time for Bird to move himself and his family away from the abandoned house and far, far away from North Philly. It was time for him to pick up on his grind, and he had a few ideas in mind.
That's where I'm gonna stop tonight. I'm about to get off air. But the question for the night is, where I put it at? Okay. Question of the night is, are you jealous of your ex's new babe? Are you jealous of your ex's new babe? That's the question for the night. This will be in the this will be on the Nays Media page in I think 2 days. And then if you didn't get the comment now, you comment then. And thank you for watching. And I'm out of here. If you haven't yet, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm out of here.